Hello, it's Jackie again. Thank you for joining me today. I'm going to share with you my only completed colouring book that I have coloured from cover to cover, and it is Worlds of Wonder by Johanna Basford. I will be sharing some thoughts as I go through this, so if you don't want to listen to me, you can put me on mute or speed me up if I take too long, but I will try to get through this as quick as I can. Every now and again I think I'm going to colour the cover of these books, and then I decide after just a small area, no, that's not for me, and that's about as far as I get with it. Now, I can't remember every brand of pencil or materials that I've used in this book, but it will either be a water-based marker, a coloured pencil, a watercolour pencil, a fine liner, or a gel pen. I have occasionally used some other medium, but I'll point them out as I go along. In this book, I chose to use super bright colours again because I felt that it suited the illustration style. And this is one of the pages I've used a metallic watercolour paint, which wasn't quite dry when I shut the book, and that's why I've got that there. It's very disappointing. But I learnt very fast not to do that again. I also used some washi tape on a couple of pages because I found with this book that it was either a small picture in a lot of white and nothing to anchor it to the page or suggestion of what relation it had to the page, and I just didn't want to do all the backgrounds, so to break some of it up I put things like tape or whatever in there. I was trying to find ways to do backgrounds as quickly as possible with as little effort as possible, because I just didn't enjoy doing it, and I still don't enjoy doing a lot of backgrounds. This one I had dropped a marker or a pen down here somewhere and left a mark, so I decided to look at World of Flowers and mimic some of the flower styles of Johanna's flowers in that book and disguised it that way. I've used some cross-hatching in the background of that one. I could have worked on this one a lot more. I stopped far too soon because there's no dark tones in here at all. And it just lacks something because it's all very much a mid-tone, and that's really indicative of how I felt about a lot of pages in this book, that I just got to a point where I thought that is adequate and I'm leaving it there, because I just found that things became a little bit monotonous and tedious for me. In hindsight, it wasn't the book to try and complete from cover to cover, but it was done just before Rooms of Wonder was due to be released, and I had told myself that, you know, it was silly to buy another book when I had so many pages in her books already that I hadn't attempted, and I felt like this might be the easiest one to complete, and I underestimated just how bored I would get with just working with one type of illustration. So I learned a lot about myself, my colouring style and my preferences when I coloured this book from cover to cover. So in that sense, it wasn't a wasted time. I purposely left no backgrounds on this one because I liked the colour palette and the simplicity of it, and I was, you know, happy to accept that that was enough on that page. As the same as with this one, I used all the gel pens for there, a little bit of pencil on the aeroplane, and I could not bring myself to paint that background with acrylic paint because of all the details in there. And I think at this point I hadn't seen how Dee Dee Willingham does all her acrylic washes in the background and then comes back over it with pencil. Otherwise that might have been a technique that could have worked for that page. So I just left it like that. This is a good example of what I do enjoy. When the illustration is whimsical like this, to do it like the children's picture book style with the bright vivid colours, very saturated, it's water-based markers and fine liners, it was quick. That's all the sorts of things that I enjoy doing. And that isn't for everybody, and that style of colouring isn't for everybody. But when I'm in that sort of mood, that's exactly all I need to do, and I'm satisfied with that. This one I do know is Derwent Graffy Tint here in the background, because I had been on holidays and we'd taken photographs of a really stormy sky, and it had that, sorry, it had that look about, very green look about the clouds when a thunderstorm is about to unleash. And the Derwent Graffy Tint pencils were perfect for that look. These pages, I feel that Johanna should have done these with a more simple page next to them, because they don't flow on as a double page spread. And I decided to colour that as night and that one as day. However, they are so busy and I've used so many colours that it is not cohesive at all. It's very busy and it's very confusing. If I had used a limited palette and made more sense of the relationships of things to each other on the page, it would have been much easier to look at. But at that point in time, I hadn't used that as a tool regularly to colour a page. I just used to jump in, throw every colour at it that I wanted or wanted to try out of the set, and afterwards would think, that didn't work. Now I would approach these pages very differently. This one I'm really happy with because I wanted the background to look like aged paper, and the watercolour pencils work really well for that look. And this one is the only page I think I've ever coloured just with Derwent Colour Soft pencils. They have a beautiful range of colours, and I really do like the colours. They've got some different ones to their other pencil sets, and they're so pretty, but they're hard to work with. I find that on a lot of paper surfaces, they just skim on the surface, they don't grip. And being able to work that depth of colour is difficult. So I don't use them an awful lot, especially not on their own. I might just use them, in small areas. They work great on top of other things. They'd grip really well to acrylic paint, for example. But on their own, they can be tricky to work with. This one, I was thinking about vintage wallpapers or washi tapes, those sorts of things. And I wanted that slightly faded look of an old wallpaper. So I'm quite happy with how that worked out. I found this composition very difficult because I couldn't decide whether this was clouds in the sky or foam and waves on the sea. This was definitely underwater, but I couldn't quite work out what was going on there. So, I wasn't sure if the fish was pulling that along underwater or whether he was in the sky or, what was going on. So I found that one really difficult to colour the background. Sometimes, you can look at things and just not make sense of it, and then you see someone else colour it and you think, is that what was going on there? That might just be me, but some of the pictures do that to me at times. And this one was my worst nightmare because it was drawn in such a way that it had to have a sky in the background, and I don't like doing graduated blends very often. I just don't find it enjoyable, and that's why I tend to go for these water-based products and just do very washy, sort of graphic design style skies instead of the graduated blends, because I just get too lazy to do it, and they're so time consuming to get just right. That's an example of what I've just said. I went for the looks like watercolour pencils in the background there, and just left it, very haphazard because I couldn't be bothered doing anything else with it. This is one where I did put the effort in, and it does look really nice. It's really pretty, but it did take a long time. And when I got to this point, I think I actually coloured this as the last thing. I'm pretty sure I did, because I didn't like the page. And if I had this book over again, that would be a page I wouldn't colour at all. But I had done the rainbows first, and then I didn't know what to do with all the flowers. So I used just about every shade I had of each colour to try and get a rainbow effect with the flowers. In hindsight, it's too much, but if I did it again, I maybe would do all the flowers grey and just have the rainbows and the butterflies bright. But I would not approach it in that way again. But I think that's a perfect illustration of just the type of mood that I was in by the time I got to the end of the book. So I hope you have enjoyed seeing this book, and let me know if you have coloured a book from cover to cover and how you found the experience. And if you have any questions, pop them in the comments section and I'll do my best to answer them. But as I did say, it is a long time since I coloured these pages, and so I have absolutely no idea what brands of all the pencils are, or the markers, and really it doesn't matter. I mean, you can do your own same result if you want to by just choosing it, your oranges and your yellows and your greens on the sets that you have. It doesn't matter what brand it is. You will be able to create a similar look if that's what you want. So yes, this was a very good learning opportunity for me. I gained a lot of insights about myself through doing this challenge. And I don't think I would ever do the same thing in a Johanna Basford book ever again. I'm currently looking at completing Around the World by R.J. Hampson, but I am thoroughly enjoying every page that I colour in that book, and I like all the pages that are to come. Also, there are only 25 images, and there is a lot more pages to colour in this sort of book, so I'm not likely to do it with a Kirby Rosane's book, for example, because I know that I don't like every single page in all of the books that I have. And I don't feel a need that I have to anymore. That was just something that I felt at the time when I did this project, and my feelings and thoughts have changed as I've gone along. And I think most of us experience that we either start out in our colouring experience with limited funds or limited access to books, and we get what we can. And then as we are able to, we expand our horizons with subjects and artists and types of books that we buy, and then we find that we actually do like something different. And there's absolutely no shame in that. There's no, we're not rubbishing the artists. It's just not for us, and not every book is going to be for us. And thankfully, there are so many artists that are creating books now that just doesn't matter. We're likely to find something that we do enjoy. So thank you again for joining me. My next video, I'm planning to show some different markers that I have and some thoughts about them, and that will be coming up pretty soon, hopefully. So I hope you will join me for that one, and I'll say goodbye for now. See you next time.